Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
As we are now in the high holiday season, the question we're going to be asking on this show, do you really have a God? We're going to be talking about that and, of course, the importance of having a Rosh HaShana holiday. We're going to be having a rabbi on the show who's going to be talking about this. We will answer any questions if you want to call in. Our numbers are on the top of our homepage at israelnewstalkradio.com. And this will be, by the way, my last show until after the Rosh HaShana holiday. So just be aware of that. We're going to be having a little bit of change in our program schedule as the holidays that we have, the staff is going to be off, but we will be back as soon as the Rosh Hashanah holiday is over. And I just want to remind you all that you can listen to any shows that you've missed during that time. All of our shows that we have on Israel News Talk Radio are archived on our homepage at israelnewstalkradio.com. Just go to the menu bar that goes across the page and choose your show host that you want to listen to. And if you click on that, it'll take you to a page where all of their shows are archived. In fact, you can go back to the very, very beginning, back in 2016, when many of the show hosts who are broadcasting today have been on Israel News Talk Radio, and go back and even listen to our first shows if you want, or go back and listen to our shows from last year at this same time. So it's very, very interesting, to compare what happened last year when we didn't know that the coronavirus was waiting for us, and we didn't know that the streets of America and the streets of other nations across the world were going to be filled with mobs of people protesting. So when we're praying this year on Rosh Hashanah, we should really have that in mind as well, that we have to pray hard, we have to really try to change, because we don't know what awaits us, and we want to pray for a good year, a healthy year, a prosperous year, a safe year, a peaceful year. We'll be right back.
G'day, I'm Jono Vandor.
And I'm Ross Nichols.
Join us on our program, Israel on My Mind, a show that broadcasts all the weekly goodness that flows like milk and honey from the Holy Land straight into your ears with humorous and happy news stories.
New shows are posted every Thursday at 7 p.m. Israel time, highlighting the lighter side and advancing a positive view of Israel here on Israel News Talk Radio.
We are in the high holiday season, and the question that we're asking today is, do you really have a God? And we're going to be talking about the importance of having a Rosh Hashanah holiday. You know, the Jewish calendar is filled with holidays every single month, except for the one after the high holidays when we go to Hanukkah. And we even call it Mar Cheshvan, which means it's a bitter month because we don't have a holiday. So what are all of these holidays for anyway? Why do we have to have them? Why do we celebrate them? Why do we observe them? Well, we have as our guest Rabbi Avraham Shira. He's a therapist, teacher, and author. He's also a teacher of Kabbalah and prayer, and you can visit his website at avrahamshira.com, and we will, of course, link his website to the page where the show is going to be podcasted after we finish the show live. All right, welcome to the show, Rabbi Avraham Shira.
Very much.
All right, so let's start out with the holiday of Rosh HaShana. It's not really just for the Jewish people in the sense that the holiday of Rosh Hashanah signifies also the birthday of the world, the birthday of mankind. Where would you like to take us?
Well, it is a universal day, a day where all humanity and all life, in fact, not even just humanity, is brought into the scales. We call them the scales of judgment, but it's kind of a reviewing board. We're going before God because we're starting again. We're getting a new chance. When we say that the world is beginning again, a birthday is really a time for starting with a new page and begin our relationship again. And when we start a relationship again, we leave the past behind. We felt what we had to feel in the previous year, and now we say we want to start again. I love this person. I love this creation. I love this creator, and I want to start again. And I don't want to, smolder around in the past. I want to start fresh and clean and joyous and aware of this gift that we're giving, because Rosh Hashanah is really a gift to begin again. And always to begin again means to return to the very beginning, which Rosh Hashanah was the first day that Adam and Eve, according to the Bible, were created. So we're returning to that first day.
Okay, and so what does that mean? I mean, a lot of people are thinking, I have to change, otherwise God won't give me a good year. Is this some type of tit for tat, or is it something much deeper?
Let me say first, Tamar, the idea of change is essential for human success. If we stay the same, we cannot expect anything different to happen. However, if you really understand change, you respect it tremendously, because change is not easy. And there's all kinds of changes that we can make. We can, in our lives, we can change the way we think, the way we feel, the way we act. And those changes are choices. So when we choose to change, we're really activating a very deep part of our humanity, because human beings are the only species that really are able to make choices of change. So we have to respect change, first of all, and not look at other people and not look at other nations and institutions, but just look at ourselves, because we have to believe, just like we believe in God for ourselves, he's also attached and dealing with everybody else. We have to believe in the other guy's connection to the Creator as well. So when we talk about change, the best way, and I think the easiest way, and something that we can do today and the rest of the year to change our year and change ourselves, is to choose one mitzvah, one commandment, one good deed that it's ours individually and uniquely. That there is one thing that you do with the Creator in mind, and no one else needs to know about it. Now, it could be something that you do in front of 100,000 people. It doesn't matter. It's not something that you go telling other people. It's something that we do privately alone. And I like to call it our personal mitzvah. It's something that great rabbis in the past have done and have talked about in a general sense, not revealing their own. In other words, I know people that will pick up trash because other people don't know about litter, or they don't care. And they pick up trash because that's their mitzvah, and they want to see the neighborhood cleaner. I know people that pick up nails in the streets by construction sites because people are dropping nails from the construction site into the street and causing danger to people, and then no one else is paying attention. So they make that their mitzvah. Other people have mitzvahs. Many, of course, the great mitzvah of the Torah is tzedakah, giving charity. But giving charity in the most powerful, effective way is in secret, where the people, we call it matan b'seter, the secret gift, because no one knows who's getting it and who's giving it. And so that's such a thing that it's private between just you and Hashem. And that really builds a powerful bond between a person and God, because I'm saying, God, I want a personal connection that's just between you and me, that I can cultivate and be thankful for and look forward to. Because let's face it, if we don't look forward to what we do, then it's going to be hard to do. When we look forward to it, the whole system of a human being changes. A little serotonin drops down in your brain, and next thing you know, you're excited about life and you're excited about what you're doing. And we need to feel that excitement, especially when it comes to divine service.
I had a sign up. I had a sign up on my wall for years that said, "If nothing changes, nothing changes." So we really have to make a change. And even if it's just for a minute, like 10 seconds a day, just to start out, 10 seconds a day, I'm going to, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do. Can you maybe just throw in a few more ideas for the general public, how we can improve ourselves? Because as I always say, we are human beings. We're not perfect. We'll never be perfect. However, it's our job to perfect ourselves. It's all in the perfecting. So give us some more ideas what universally we can do.
Well, what I was just speaking of, Tamar, really is universal. You don't have to be a Jew to do a good deed and to identify a certain act that you do that's your special event, your special mitzvah that you do. It's for every human being what we just spoke about. But I understand what you mean by perfection. Perfection is a long road. It's a process. The goal is the process itself. The idea of reaching perfection is daunting. It's intimidating because, let's face it, there is only one truly perfect being, and that's the one we're choosing to serve. But I want to be a better person, and being better each day, changing levels each day, is something that every human being can do. And so when we choose a mitzvah, a command, or if you will, your own private act or good deed with Hashem, you're opening up a whole new channel of reality in your life that's never been there before. Now, when we talk about perfection, it's very important to be specific. Let's say I have a problem with anger, or I have a problem with money, or I have a problem with my neighbor. Let's be specific and work on those things. Pick something that's real, that's in our life, that's in our face, that's clearly being asked of me, whoever I am, wherever I am, whatever I do, whatever level of in society I'm at. It doesn't matter if you're president or the guy that's sweeping downstairs at the entrance. You have a relationship with the Creator, and you can make it better, and you can feel joy. And of course, joy itself is a choice. To say, I'm going to be happy. And to choose joy, people think is what? Either I feel it or I don't. No, it's not necessarily so. Joy is a power in the world that I get to access by choosing it. And if I don't choose it, I don't access it. But the power is still there. And being happy is a skill. It's a gift. And it's something that we need to work on, because the world is giving us plenty of reasons to not be happy. And really, the reason, life itself is a reason to be happy. We look out there in the universe. It's a massive, unbelievable, multi-light-year universe. And are there people making choices of happiness out there in the dark? I'm not sure. I haven't found any yet, Seems to be a lot of UFO reports, but they're not talking to us.
And, also just to give joy, especially in a relationship with your spouse, if you're married, or maybe with a friend, if you're not married, a good buddy, just to do something that will make them happy. And I can just say before we go to the break that I always, when I was younger, was afraid to commit to something because I thought, I'm going to do this for my spouse every single day. I know it'll make them happy, but what if I miss out and I'll never be able to do it? But then I thought, you know what? If I start out twice a week, I'm successful. I already brought joy to my spouse twice a week. And then eventually it'll be 3 times and 4 times. And if I miss sometimes, okay, I miss sometimes, but look at all the times I was able to bring that joy to my spouse or to my friend or to my neighbor or whoever it is. So I think that we shouldn't be afraid that, we're going to fail if I say I'm going to do this every day, because the more times we do it, the more we become it, and habits, to form these good habits. A last word before we go to a break.
Well, that is a very good way to begin is obviously with the people that are closest to us, because oftentimes we take them for granted first. And that's really unfortunate. A rule that I try to follow, I'm not sure I always succeed, and it's okay, because part of our fear of perfection and success is that we think we have to do it 100%, and that's a lie. That's the way the other side tries to get a piece of the action. No, we don't have to be perfect. There is no such thing as batting 100, batting 1,000 over here. But one thing you can always do is whenever you go to the refrigerator or the kitchen or the lunchroom, ask anybody nearby if they want anything.
Okay, hold it right there. We have to go to a break, and we'll be hungry during the break.
Hi, everyone. This is Andrea Siminto from Jerusalem, inviting you to drop everything and join me on my show, Pull Up a Chair. We'll visit this week's quirky stories, meet fabulous guests, and discover my Israel. Together, we'll laugh, shout, and explain the topics that make us say, hey, we've got to talk about that. So get comfortable and pull up a chair with me, Andrea Siminto, every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Did you know this psalm and many others were composed by a Jewish shepherd and musician who later became a king? Would you like to know some of the inner meanings of psalms to help you connect with God and strengthen your soul? An exciting and easy-to-read book is now available which will help you do just that. Software for the Soul, Psalms for Everyone, available on Kindle, Audible, and Amazon.com. Software for the Soul.
Modesty at the beach? It isn't just about body image. It's about feeling good. Modest swimsuits, so we don't get burned by the sun.
So we won't get ogled by strangers.
So we'll feel free to express ourselves without the need to expose ourselves.
Let Marcy Modest help you to cover up what you want, how you want.
Made in Israel. Visit marcymodest.com. That's MARSEA modest.com.
And get a 10% discount on your first purchase.
All right, we're back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, and we're talking about the importance of having a Rosh HaShana holiday, how we were improving ourselves on a personal level, and everybody who improves themselves makes the whole entire world a better place. And we're also asking the question, do you really have a God? Our guest is Rabbi Avraham Shira, and you can look him up on avrahamshira.com. He's also on YouTube, and I'll be reading out more information before the end of the show, how you can be in contact with him and even attend some of his daily lectures and classes that he gives. All right, so in the last segment, we had to get off the air. You're talking about going to the refrigerator.
Seems to be something we do often.
Too often.
Anytime I take for myself, I can give to somebody else as well. So if you were talking about doing something nice for your spouse, that if I'm going to make a coffee, why can't I ask for the next person? If I'm going to jump over to the store to pick something up, can I ask somebody else if they need something? It's not really a big deal. I'm already going. And yet you're changing the whole world by doing a good deed. So that by changing the whole world, I mean that you're actually changing a person's day when you do them a good turn. And the Rosh HaShana is the time we begin again. So we want to start this day with something new, something special, something different. And this is a great way to do it because it's not so hard and it's something that we can do again and again.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, finish. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that, so just as a tie-in to our main theme, do we really have a God? Judaism emphasizes action and not theory. We have wonderful theories. We have endless theories and connections and philosophical understanding of what we do. But it's about the action. So let's put it in action in Rosh Hashanah, and then we'll see the benefits right away.
Okay, so do we really have a God? What do you mean by that?
Well, the Talmud says that anybody who lives outside the land is as if they don't have a God, or they resemble somebody who doesn't have a God. Now, of course, the Talmud is made of ancient rabbis who gave their opinions on things, and they're talking about other Jews. And yet they themselves lived outside the land. And then they also say that somebody who lives in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, they resemble somebody who has a God. So the question obviously arises, why are they using this language? They resemble someone who doesn't have a God, or they resemble somebody who does have a God. What are they telling us about the land of Israel and living in it? And so I have been bothered by this question. You know, it's a general rule, Tamar, that when you read some piece of scripture and it bothers you, that's good. It's supposed to get under your skin. It's supposed to make you think and ask questions, and not just dismiss it as old-fashioned, and not just accept it as dogma, but rather to ask questions. What does it mean that my best friend, who's a holy person, who lives in Monsey, New York, it's as if he resembles someone who doesn't have a God? That's not a very pleasant thing to think about. If you're a religious person, you spent your life keeping Torah and mitzvot, and the rabbis come along and tell you that. So in asking this question, what I came up with is like this, that we understand that the Jews have a mission, an international, universal mission, to bring the revelation of the presence of God in a place where he's hidden. This world, God is hidden. And so our job is to reveal him. And how can we reveal him? Well, through doing the deeds, making things apparent by our actions. And the deeds, of course, are the mitzvot of the Torah, and the Ten Commandments is the good place to begin. And so when I do those good deeds, I reveal that there's something else going on in this world of shadows and mirrors. And so one of the mitzvot is coming to the land of Israel. But because we are now where we are in the stage of history, this mitzvah has become very important, because we've been wandering around for thousands of years, and the call, the great shofar has blown, and the call to come back to Israel has been in effect for quite a while. There's been 3 major aliyahs in the world in general, and there's new aliyah every day of people coming to the land, even in times of corona. So this mitzvah of returning to the land is one where if I don't do the mitzvah, I am sitting in my comfortable house in Monsey. I believe in the mitzvah, I do the mitzvot, and yet this particular mitzvah I put on the side. And when you put a mitzvah on the side, you're domain as if you don't have a God. Because let's say I come to your house and I say, let's say Shema. Did you say Shema Yisrael today? Did you declare that God is one? Okay, it's a bit awkward, but people do it. They actually will ask you on the street, did you put on tefillin today? And you say, no, I'm not doing that mitzvah today. At that very moment, I'm rejecting a mitzvah. And that's the person who doesn't have a God, is someone who rejects those good deeds. So when it says domeh, he resembles someone who doesn't have a God. At the moment of the rejection, I am a person who is saying, I'm pushing God away. There is no God when it comes to coming to Eretz Israel. I'm staying right here in my comfortable house in Monsey, or in New York, or Miami Beach, or LA, or anywhere else that Jews live. But they have a very specific mitzvah to do. And so when I push away a mitzvah, I'm really saying at that point, there's no God. And then you could flip it around and say, well, why did the rabbis say that a person who does come to live in Eretz Israel, it's as if he has a God, because the mitzvah of Eretz Israel is a mitzvah that includes all the others. It's one of those mitzvahs that touch every single aspect of your life, every single moment of the day. And it is something that the Hasidic masters call the main war of a Jew. Rabbi Natan says, the main war of a Jew is to get to Eretz Israel. And he calls it a war.
That's the land of Israel.
It's not just calling your travel agent. It's a war.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way to look at it, is living life moment by moment, which is really what we have to do to be attached to the Creator, because the Creator is in the moment. He lives in the moment. We need to live in the moment with him. If I push him away at any given moment, it's as if I don't have a God. I might go back to doing a mitzvah 5 minutes later, then it's as if I do have a God again. But the as if, or the domeh, the resembling, stops when I say no to any aspect of Torah. I can say, not yet. I'm not ready to do that mitzvah. I'm just a beginner. Let me take it easy. Okay, no problem. God has more patience than we do. But ultimately, I can't use that excuse forever. I remember when I first got to Los Angeles, where you're from, Tamar, and I had a long ponytail and, my Chevy van. People said, why don't you cut your hair? I said, I will, but in my time. When I feel the inner impulse that says, your hair's falling out anyways. Why do you need a cuckoo in the back? So
a cuckoo in Hebrew, by the way, is a ponytail. So,
ponytail, right?
Yeah.
But I saved the choice for myself. Understand? It wasn't other people telling me what to do. And in religion, it's very easy to tell people what to do. But it's not really what Hashem wants. Is our own impulse, our own inner inspiration to come forth and to be the source of our change.
All right.
Okay?
So go ahead.
Well, that's kind of an original, or not original, but initial take on this whole idea of Rosh Hashanah is the time where we reveal that God is king. And so the most profound way that a Jew can say God is king is not by saying those three words. The most profound way a Jew can say God is king and prove that he has a God is saying, you know what, I'm locking up this house, I'm selling out, I'm going back to Israel, to where my great-grandfather wanted to go and to where my ancestors were, and to rebuild there, because I have a mitzvah to rebuild my life there. And right now it seems to be a very good time to do it. A good friend of mine just made Aliyah from Seattle, and he did a miraculous thing to come to Eretz Yisrael. He's got a big house and a great job and a wonderful family, and he just said, okay, folks, we're locking up. And he did. And he's got his house for sale over there, and he made Aliyah, and he's sitting in quarantine. And he's brought his wife and 3 kids, and, he's doing it. So he has a God, because the mitzvah of coming to the land of Israel is the mitzvah that touches all others. And so I don't want to be one of those people that keep saying, Baruch haba, Shana haba b'Yerushalayim, which means the next year I'll be in Jerusalem. Next year next year is a long time. And when you say it 2,000 times, 2,000 years has passed. So I think that statement of the rabbis, next year in Jerusalem, it can become a hypocritical, little piece of message from the rabbis that it's not over.
Yeah, it could be wishful thinking also, because a lot of people think next year in Jerusalem, or I have my finger on the pulse, I'll get out when I need to. But by the time you realize that you need to, it's already too late many times. Look at all the Jews in Europe in pre-World War II that said next year in Jerusalem, and they didn't get out, They
didn't. It's unfathomable, but I used to work for a wonderful person who was in Auschwitz for 3 years. And she didn't have the choice to get out. She was a young girl when she was taken into the camps, and she survived, thank God, and made it to Eretz Israel. And I said, how did you survive? How did you even believe in God anymore? She says, who am I to question God? Who am I to question the mitzvot? How big is my brain before I start questioning the Creator and His mitzvot, His commands, His program, His package deal? Because it's a package deal to be a Jew. You're given a promise, and you're just like in Parshat Re'eh, you're given a promise, and you're given the opposite of the promise if you don't take the promise, if you don't take the mission. So
okay, hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Are you interested in transforming your life, drawing closer to the Creator, and uncovering the deeper meanings and hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds. So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
All right, we are here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. This is the last show I'm going to be doing before the Rosh HaShana holiday. We will be on a different, we will be on a holiday schedule as we are in the high holiday season. So some of our shows will not be being broadcast as we are off. Our staff is off for the holidays, so just keep that in mind. Our guest today is Rabbi Avraham Shira, Shira. AvrahamShira.com. That's his website. And we're talking about how to change in order to make this a better world for us and for the entire humanity. And also about, do you really have a God? I mean, are we going to say, well, this is what I'm going to do because I want to do it? Or are we going to say, this is what I'm going to do because God would like it, because this is what God wants us to do. So on that note, how are we to choose again our personal Rosh HaShana mitzvah, or New Year resolution in other words, and also not just to choose that resolution, but to keep it, to actually do it. Go ahead.
Right. And that is the difficult thing, is to keep doing something after we choose a good deed. People choose to take vitamins, and after a few days they forget about the vitamins. So it's something that we need to pray about as well. But I think the first rule is to look in your own life around you, what's asking for help, what's asking for change. And it might just be, like you were saying, your relationship with your spouse or your children or your employees or your employer. But look in your own life, because it's so easy to turn on the internet and look at the whole world, and then I forget about my place in it, and I forget about what I can do. So on the New Year's resolution has to be something real that I can do now and that I can keep doing, and I'm not going to forget it because it becomes part of who I am. So it really is an individual question, and a person has to work out. Now, this is something I've often done with people in a therapeutic context to help them get their lives on track, is to help people make choices, because one of the biggest problems we have is not being able to make choices, not being able to make commitments. We start out and next thing you know, my commitment's gone. And so that's really the work of what we call the other side in Kabbalah, the obstacles and resistances to goodness. Anytime I feel a resistance to goodness, that's what we call the other side. It has a million different names, and you can start at the top and call it evil, or call it the prosecutor, and work your way down. But essentially, it exists in a psychic level at the resistance I have to doing good for myself and for others. So maybe your resolution is about going to work out and get in shape. That's something that people, I'm sure, like to do. But instead of just trying to get in shape, how about asking your friend, your neighbor, if he become your workout partner? How about working out with your spouse? How about taking a long, hard walk with somebody else so that they get benefit of your choice? So when we include others, automatically we're improving the chances of success. If I'm doing everything alone in the world, guess what? I wake up alone. So really, this is one of the keys, I believe, is to make it about somebody else. And if it's working out, if it's a diet, if it's doing a good deed, like I said about my friend who's picking up trash in the parking lot because he just can't bear the litter, so ask someone else to help him. And then so on and so forth. So we become a team, and we become strong. And King Solomon said, a 3-braided rope will not easily break. And
that's great advice, to involve someone else in your resolution. That's really good. I know that I hate walking, but I know it's healthy. So I get a walking partner instead of just saying, okay, well, I'll just put some earphones on and I'll listen to whatever I listen to when I'm walking. When you get a partner, it's more of an oomph to, you don't want to disappoint them, because they also want to walk. So that's a good piece of advice. All right. So number 1, to involve someone else. Number 2, what?
Well, number 2 is, I believe, is not to tell people about it. The rabbis teach us, ein bracha ela b'davar samui min ha'ayin, which means there is no blessing except on something that's hidden. Once something's revealed to the world wants to take a piece of it. So when we choose something special, then we should make it special by not going and telling everybody else. And even if it means, not telling everybody that you're working out, or not telling everybody that you're giving charity. people love to talk about those things because they feel, a little bit of grandiosity. But it actually detracts from the specialness of the mitzvah. So make it personal and private with somebody else. Another thing that is very important is to make it something that you're going to want to do every day. You might not do it every day. It's okay if you miss a day. But if you miss 3 days, you might as well, start again. So we want to make it something that we can really do and etch it in time to make a place in our daily calendar to do it. And the best time, of course, is first thing in the morning, because that's when we are fresh and the mind is clear and we're able to get things done much easier in the morning, as most of us recognize. By the end of the day, it's pretty rough to go out and take a run or to go lift weights or to give charity. The rabbis teach that if you reach in your pocket for $1 and you come up with a quarter, it's going to make you upset. We have this inner resistance to goodness is something that we have to break if we want to achieve our potential. And that inner resistance is not hard to break. We just got to do it. Just be a little bit stubborn. That's the special miracle and the blessing of the Jews is to be the stiff-necked people means we're stubborn. We're stubborn about what? About doing goodness. We're not stubborn about, I'm not going to do this and all the negative things. We're stubborn about keeping a relationship with God alive by what we do and what we believe. So I think that the new year is something we need to develop day by day.
We often want to also work on our character defects, and I'll share a very personal story. I don't like to talk about it very much, but many years ago, I had a miscarriage. It was a late term, and it was a very traumatic time, and I felt that I didn't want this baby that I birthed that didn't survive. I didn't want him to think, on a soul level, that he only brought sadness and trauma to the world. And I wanted to work on two aspects of myself that would help make me a better person. Therefore, my family would be better, and then the family goes out into the world, and this would be something I would do in honor of the baby that I lost. And one of the character defects, I thought, okay, I know I need to work on this. But another one, I asked someone else that was close to me, but not too close to me, that I would see them every single day. And so I asked a sister-in-law of mine, because she knew me pretty well, but I didn't see her. She didn't live nearby. And I asked her what she thinks I need to work on, because oftentimes we don't even realize what we need to work on. But other people will say, oh, she really works. She or he really needs to work on this aspect of themselves. We don't see ourselves all the time. And so I did what she had suggested in a very gentle and kind way, and what I had done. And I felt better also that I'm not only improving myself, but I wanted that baby up in heaven to know. See, I'm starting to cry now. To know that he made this world a better place. It wasn't just sadness that he brought. So I think that if we ask someone else also to, someone close to us, but not too close, to say, what do you think that I can improve on? Where do you think I can, do I lose my temper too quickly? What is it? And then just to get an idea, because maybe we'll see something in ourselves we never realized.
Wonderful advice. And it's a humbling thing to ask anybody else for what their opinion, especially when it comes to personal growth. So that already by asking, you're putting yourself into a humble position, and that certainly is a divine act to humble ourselves to another human being. That's a wonderful insight, and I hear your story, Yonah, Tamar, and
I so hate it and despise it when I cry on the air. Okay, so last thought. You have about 30 seconds. Last thought.
Well, the last thought is that for all the wonderful Jews living outside the land, I would ask myself, and I did ask myself this question 29 years ago.
With the ponytail.
How long can I keep saying Shana Haba in Jerusalem?
Next year in Jerusalem.
How long can I keep saying that and not feel like a hypocrite? I do not like feeling like a hypocrite. I am sure I've behaved like a hypocrite various times in my life. But in this particular choice, I said, I just can't do this anymore. I want to be part of the future. Part of the future is, for the Jewish people, is in this holy land. And the past we've been there. People have asked me, well, can't I just stay in New York when Mashiach comes? I said, well, you know what? You probably can, but I'm not sure I want to be there. And with what's going on in New York now, I've got friends in New York telling me they can hear gunshots out every day outside their window in Jewish neighborhoods, in all kinds of neighborhoods. And, if that's not enough, well, how far does it have to go before I wake up?
Right. And we really need to wake up. And I just want to repeat what you said. We have to ask our questions. Do you really have a God? And that means if you do, then you have to do what God wants, not necessarily what we want. And that's part of our work that we have to do in this new year, part of our New Year's resolutions. And I want to remind everybody that you can learn with our guest, Rabbi Avraham Shira, live daily on patreon.com. You can find hundreds of classes on his YouTube channel as well. He's also available for one-on-one meetings for therapy and spirituality. So you want to take advantage of that. And we will link again to his website where you can find all of his materials that he has there, and you can contact him. Rabbi, I want to wish you a Shana Tova and a very good, spiritual, healthy, safe, and a wonderful year filled with abundant blessings to you and to all of our listening audience. You have 10 seconds.
Amen. Thank you very much. And the one who blesses will be blessed. And I want to bless you to continue your work, Tamar, because
Amen.
You're doing something that is unique and that has to continue. And I hope that people appreciate what it is to make the commitment to be on the radio every day like she is, and to understand that it's not just a given and we're not all out for our ego.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
If you're hearing this message, everyone else can too. Advertise with Israel News Talk Radio and get your message out to people. We'll build a personalized package for you. Contact advertising at israelnewstalkradio.com.
Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Jake in Anchorage, Alaska, and I love listening to all the super interesting interviews and up-to-date information on what's happening in Israel.
Hello, this is Anna King, originally from London, now living in Israel. And what can I say? Israel News Talk Radio is my cup of tea.
My name is Bhaskar. I'm from India, and I love listening because you get to know the truth and wonderful voices from this lovely country.
Mom! Okay, wait a minute. Hi, this is Chava Dax, and I'm calling from the rolling hills of Ma'ale Adumim, just north of Jerusalem. I always listen to Israel News Talk Radio to get all the latest news and commentary and to keep me up to date every day.
This is Sarah Dax from Ma'ale Adumim, and I'm 12. I wish Israel News Talk Radio was boring so my mom wouldn't listen to it all the time. Mom!
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.